Righty, the attendee list seems to have leveled off. I want to thank everybody for joining us today in the midst of peak week. As I'm sure some of you are seeing stops at unprecedented levels. So hopefully that's a good thing. And that means if you're here, your business should be in pretty good shape and delivering superior service and making some money while you're doing it. So with we're going to cover some of our normal topics with the volume and then go into a little bit about the Network 2.0 negotiations as we continue to learn more every time we get one of these new negotiations in. So without further ado, I'll turn this over to Jeff Walczak.
Okay, welcome everybody. And as Ken said, we know everybody's busy. It's okay. It's what happens this time of year. We need to make sure that you know that eTruckBiz is not endorsed, sponsored, approved, or otherwise affiliated with FedEx Corporation. Now, we think we have a very special presentation here for you today, so we'll get to that in a second. But first, let's look at the volume trends. And remember, these volume numbers are coming from last week, which means Thanksgiving Day is in there. And then Friday was a strange day to say the least, but here we go. The pickups looks like they're way down, but that's not necessarily true because Thursday there was a day with no pickups. However, if you look what happened with the stops being way down, the packages, yeah, they're down, but they're not down that far. That's actually pretty darn strong. And on the delivery side, and we don't have to tell you this, but the delivery stops are way up there. And keep in mind, that's with Thanksgiving Day in there.
Wow.
That's pretty damn big. And then the packages too. So what that means, big shippers are shipping big, if you want to look at it that way. So that's good. So what happened over on the productivity side? Well, look at that. Look at that. Stops per dispatch. Best numbers of the year. So yes, it can be done. Stops per dispatch, damn near 106. And that's just really good. So good job out there, all of you guys. So as we always say, do you know your easy number? Do you have an expense plan? Do you know what FedEx thinks you should be spending? You would if you went through one of our budgeting and expense plan sessions. You'd have some really powerful information. Does FedEx do that for you? Do they calculate your easy number? Do they give you any kind of budget or expense plan? No, they don't. Want one? Stay tuned. So in the news, there's a little bit of news here. This might be interesting. UPS and FedEx are on track to meet near perfect delivery times this holiday season. So down here it says the weak demand bedeviling package delivery companies like United Parcel Service and FedEx promises to be great news for online U.S. shoppers who want quick on-time holiday gift delivery. Is that what we just saw on our volume numbers?
Nope. But hopefully it means the hubs in both networks are current.
Well, barring an unexpected surge in online gift buying due to severe winter storms, major delivery firms are well positioned for on-time delivery performance to approach 100%, said.
If Satish said it, it's got to be true.
Founder of consultancy ShipMatrix. So, okay, well, some of you know we know some folks, in this case at Susquehanna. So thank you to our friends at Susquehanna for this. Railroads, well, why is this important? Rail volumes were plus 19% this week compared to the four-week trend of 5% quarter to date and trend of 2% year to date, trend of 3%. Rail volumes being up 19%. That hasn't happened. I don't know if I've ever seen that happen before. That's huge. And most of you that have been around know that rail volumes being up usually leads to lots of boxes in warehouses. And guess where they go after that? They go out on trucks. So we'll see what happens. It could mean a lot more is in store for peak here for us. So we'll see what happens. All right, so keep your guard up. So here we are smack dab in the middle of peak. And guess what? We want to look past peak 2024. It will be over, believe it or not. So we want to give you a Network 2.0 update. The express integration will continue into 2025. The pace of integration is currently questionable. So a lot of folks are wanting to know, well, how come FedEx hasn't been farther down the curve as far as this goes and whatnot? Wall Street's questioning it. Everybody and their brother's questioning it. We now know the first half of the year there will be some integration. Some of you on this call know it too. You're facing it right now. But they're saying, we'll see, big, huge push second half of the year coming up, right? So based on what has already happened in different places, several integration strategies are being tried. So what we can tell you is it's actually started. When did it start, Ken? It was a year and a half ago now. First few terminals got some.
Yeah, October of 2023 is when I think they did a section of terminals that included the Youngstown facility here. I think they had toyed around with it a little bit in some smaller facilities before that.
So you can see what they're doing. They're trying out different things. They just wanted to put it in there. They're paying in different ways. Every time it's gone to a different rollout, there's been a little bit of difference. But now looks like they're settling in on what's going to happen. So there's something now called Optimized CSA Negotiations. So what's this all about? So first, what is meant by an optimized CSA? FedEx Ground and FedEx Express station geographic service areas will be realigned. I think most people know that. New services and volumes will be integrated into pickup and delivery areas serviced by service providers. Service providers will pick up and deliver most, not all, FedEx volume in a market. There may be FedEx couriers handling first overnight and other designated volume in a particular market. So again, each time this has gone out there, it's been different. It looks now like it appears to be that the dense overnight areas, those are where the couriers are going to be focused in. Okay, huge for you to understand what that means. And then don't be surprised when that volume ends up moving to service providers in the future. Okay. When offered an exclusive optimized CSA negotiation, something very, very, very different is about to be revealed to you. You will be shown anticipated volumes and engineered standard weekly vehicles and engineered standard daily stops per vehicle. Now, in your negotiations before, they never showed you this, but it matters. We're going to show you why it matters here in a second. So when they show you those things, that can be used to determine how many dispatches they think you should be making every day. And then the engineered productivity level, stops per on road hour, that needs to be achieved to make it all work. Okay, all that has to happen to hit your engineered financial targets. So in other words, how many trucks and how many stops per truck you need to use or dispatch every day. That's what that means. So this is real important. Without telling you what to do, they are telling you what to do. And of course, this tremendously impacts your negotiation. We recommend the following analysis in conjunction with a regular negotiation consultation for optimized CSAs. So I'm going to show you the hot new out of the box thing here. So there's a brand new analysis that can go with a negotiation consultation. So I know we're amongst friends here and most of the folks on here know who we are, know how this goes. Most of you know Miss Carrie that's on here. She's the negotiation lady. There's a whole new way of looking at this. So when you get your optimized CSA packet, Network 2.0 packet, they've called it several different things already. What they're going to show you is, first of all, you want to look at the volume they're showing you. What does that mean? Well, you're currently averaging a certain number of average weekly packages. Okay. The second column is, well, what is my current CSA? In some cases, CSAs are being redefined. So you're losing a zip, you're adding a zip, maybe nothing's happening, maybe it's really different, who knows? But the second column here is that new CSA with added or removed zips. So in this particular case for this company, they were at 14,000 packages a week currently. Their their optimized CSA would be at 15,285 packages. Hopefully that makes sense. Then the next step is to add the deferred volume, or the 5s and the 8s. You guys know what that means. That's a whole lot more volume in this case. So that took us up to 19,000. And then you add in the time definites, that's 20,000 packages. So we went from 14,000 packages all the way up to 20,000 packages in this particular case. And by the way, this is not the name of this company here that these numbers represent, but this is a real world example. So that means our package percent went up 6.5% with the new zips, 34% with the deferred packages, and then the time definites added in there got us a 37% increase in packages. The stops, on the other hand, 7,500 stops. Look at this. The optimized CSA, the zips going back and forth, or the newly reconfigured CSA, this operation actually lost stops. But then you put the time or the deferred stops in there. Now we're at 7,900 stops. And then with the time definites, we're 8,500 stops a week. Okay. And then you have the percent stop change. The next thing is what's the impact of that volume on your operation? So this operation happens to be at 70.83 dispatches per week. If we extrapolate that at that level of productivity to service the optimized CSA, this operation would have to dispatch between 66 and 75 dispatches for the newly reconfigured CSA. Add the deferred volume where it's 74 to 83. And then with the time definites, it's 80 to 89. Now, FedEx shows you in their packet how many they have engineered or how many they think dispatches you should be making. And of course, it's in a range, and that's why we created the ranges up here. But here's the ranges for these three new situations. In this case, we're currently over dispatching this situation by 16 dispatches a week. It's 18 dispatches a week with deferred volume and 20 dispatches with the whole boat, which means each day, depending on how many days this operation operates, we're at 2.673 and 3.33, too many dispatches. FedEx assumes stops per dispatch, which they tell you in the packet, 135. Our current daily stops that we're averaging a dispatch now is at 101. That means that we're, in this case, under what we're currently doing versus what they think we should be doing, 33.85 stops per dispatch. Now, when we do this analysis for you, we want your biggest cost, of course, or your biggest expense is your wages, and you're going to see why here in a little bit why we want this. We want to get your last 3 weeks of actual wages, driver wages, Look at this right here. This operation is 6.55 average daily hours. Okay. It should be noted that FedEx, when they do their engineering, they're looking at 8.5 hours. So there's a difference right there, right out the gate. Anyways, employer cost, particular operation is spending $163.82 wages per dispatch. Now, once you enter your negotiation, there's the different stages. There's your pre-negotiation. What does all this mean before you get started? Well, currently, this operation is at $3.57 revenue per stop. When we factor in the volume for the different situations here, this would be 369 revenue per stop, 361, and 391. Your standard budget cost is 293. It will go up to 303 in this situation, 296 in this situation, and 320 in this situation, which yields you a margin per stop. Hopefully you can see that 67, 65, and 71. Look at your revenue per dispatch. Currently, we're at 378. In these situations, we would go up to 479, 472, and 519 revenue per dispatch. Here's our cost per dispatch, and this would be your standard operating budget cost per dispatch, 310, 393, 386. Giving you a margin per dispatch of 67.86. So if you look at this, the margin per dispatch currently is $67.99 per dispatch. It's going to go up, and this is really good news, okay? This is good news if you can manage this. This is very good news. That's a 30-something% increase, or somewhere around a 30% increase as far as margin per dispatch. That's huge. So that your margin per dispatch percentages are there. In this case, looking at the weekly revenue, look per dispatch, or I'm sorry, just weekly revenue is at $26,000. And then we were talking about the increase. Look at that, $33,000 from 26.8 to 33.5 weekly revenue. It's no joke, folks. That's good. Now, our expenses currently at 22, and then we would budget them to go up to 27, giving us an operating income of 48,000 or 4,800 bucks here, up to 6,000 there. So, and then also look at what happens to our estimated contract value. It starts down here at 1.394, goes up to $2 million. That's a $700,000 increase in the estimated contract value. Okay. That's before the negotiation takes place. So different things happen during the negotiation, whether you do a MESO, which Carrie would probably tell us not to do, or if you go into a traditional negotiation, these types of things will change for whatever reason. So if we move these around a little bit, of course, it changes all of our contract values and all of our revenue, package revenue, stop revenue, those kind of things. And then we look at our revenue per stop. Would be there in this particular case. So if we then said, okay, all that happened, and then after the negotiation, here's where we're at. Remember, we started, let's say at 391, and if we were fortunate enough to get them to go to $4.01, let's see, who knows, just as an example here, that would change a lot of things in our contract. Now you have a standard operating budget. And what this means is this is what FedEx thinks you should spend based on all the different things that happen in your negotiation. So in this case, they're looking at your labor should be 52% of that revenue, which is this. Your fuel should be whatever. These all come off of everything else we've got in the system, all the other data that we have for you. And we come up with what they think you should be spending. These are standard expense categories. You all have them. I know people say, well, that's not what my QuickBooks looks like, and that's not what my accountant says. I know, because they're all different. There is a standard way of looking at this. You all spend money on the same things the same way. You come up with total budget expenses, what the expected EBITDA is, and then what the budgeted amount of capital investment, what FedEx thinks you should be able to afford as far as truck payments or buying new trucks, whatever. There's that. Then you have your owner's benefit, in this case of 11%. And this also, there's another line now, and we'll get into this some more here in a second, but there's another line now. In this case, 10.59% of this revenue that we showed up there is at risk. So part of the optimized negotiation is, what is it called, Carrie, if you're on here? I already forgot. Time definite service charge?
Time definite. No,
Is
it's a time definite stop charge.
Time definite stop charge. This is how much is at risk, which means if you don't hit 98.5 service, they don't pay it to you. In this case, it's 10.59% of the revenue is at risk. So that's the standard operating budget. And then if we did this with you, we would go through, and I'm not going to do it here, but you can change, for whatever reason. Let's say we're not hitting 52% direct labor as a percent of revenue for whatever reason, or you're spending more on fuel, whatever it is, we would go through and change all these things, expense categories to fit what you're actually doing. So we'd actually come up with a spending plan, a planned revenue per stop, and a planned cost per stop. Next is we go through the analysis and we can compare different things. So where we currently at to where, in this case, the optimized CSA plus express volume plus time definite volume, the difference in weekly stops, daily stops, weekly stops, yearly stops, residentials, all the different things that are going to change in your optimized CSA, how much the capital investment changes from one scenario to the other. In this case, let's see here, if we're currently at 101 stops per dispatch, then we would expect our owner's benefit to be $198,000. But if we can hit the expected stops per dispatch that FedEx says, here's how much that owner's benefit could be. And that's a little skewed because I messed with it back here. Anyway, what this will show us is if, for instance, there's at some point where we actually go negative. We don't want that, right? This is going to tell us, planning into the future, we're going to have to hit a certain level of productivity or else it ain't going to work, right? Or if we can hit, and some of you guys on this call, you do better than the FedEx assumptions. If you can, it's going to be out there to get you guys. We just showed you that the current levels versus with the time definites, there's a 30% potential increase here. Now you got to make those time definites happen, but here's a hell of an opportunity, folks.
Can I interject here?
Yes, please.
Okay. There's a misconception with these new optimized CSA packets versus the PCAT that has been going on. It's taken us a bit to actually go through the information and figure out what's going on here. And what we've determined is the stop and package data in the FedEx assumption box in the PCAT that FedEx uses to make these offers for the optimized CSA is different than the packet. And what we can deduce is it is the historical volume of the newly defined CSA without the express volume in it. So a lot of folks are getting very concerned when they see the offers, the gross revenue calculations in the PCAT, because they look like a revenue cut from their current contracts. And we're here to tell you that this report is specifically designed to tell you, what your actual revenue potential is going to be, and not to go by the numbers that are in the PCAT. so to speak.
Yeah, so if you look at this here, what Carrie's saying, let's try to use some numbers this time. This is what, in this case, we're looking at the last 6 weeks of your volume annualized.
That would
But
come from the actual based off of settlements, correct?
yes,
Because we
yes,
have package and stop data off of the settlements,
right. And then these numbers are coming from the packet.
which do not match the PCAT, correct, Carrie?
That is correct.
That's a big deal. Big deal. Hopefully everybody understands that. All this will enhance your ability to put operational and financial controls in place. So as we've been saying, as you can see, running a more complex operation at higher standards is going to be tough. Be challenging, but it can be done. There's already folks, we have some clients of ours that are in places that have time definites that are killing it. And they're not only killing it from a service standpoint, but they're killing it from a financial standpoint as well. Some of them will tell you, this is pretty good.
Can I say what the common thread there is, Jeff?
Please.
On-road hours. I wish it was more sophisticated than that. It's about maintaining your stops per hour for the required number of hours to generate that revenue per dispatch.
Absolutely can be done. It can. So now, what most of them will tell you that have already been through this, that are doing well, it can happen, but you got to be able to focus on the operation. So how do you do that? Use our teams. So all the things Becca's going to tell you about here in a second, we actually have teams of people that do this stuff for you. Use our teams to enhance your team. The business support system is for service providers transitioning to Network 2.0. Many of you who have transitioned to Network 2.0, or at least have express volume, they'll tell you that everything that we're helping them with is a huge help so they can make sure that they can get the time definites done. Service providers expanding their operations to multiple facilities. Over the last 3 to 6 months, FedEx has gone to a lot of folks that they think are decent operators, or really good operators, and said, look, we don't know what it's going to be yet, but are you willing? Do you want to take over some other operations in other facilities? Because guess what? Some folks can't deal with this, so there's going to be lots of opportunities. And now it's always been that way, but they know as the Network 2.0, as Express hits and it gets a little more complicated, there's going to be some folks falling out, already has. And a lot of you on this call are going to wind up with multiple, they're going to give it to you. So the question is, how are you going to manage multiple facility operations? Some of you already do it, but there's a really efficient way of doing that. And that's what the business support system's for. So service providers new to the business, we also know that there are new folks on here. There are folks that haven't gotten into the space yet. If you haven't, don't be afraid. You can do it, but you have to know what you're doing. And that's what the business support system is for. It's to teach you all kinds of things. And then there's some of you on here that are remote, which is you already know the challenges of doing that. And that's what the system is for. It's to help the folks that are remote. So, Miss Becca.
Okay, so we are now offering the business support system, which includes 3 different programs. Each program is going to focus on a different area of your business. So the Administrative Services Manager program, we would take care of all of your non-revenue producing tasks. So we want it would be the payroll, recruiting. This is not going to make you any money, but it is necessary to do. So this is going to help you manage your time effectively. Then we also have the Optimized Performance program. This is going to focus on your operational side of your business. This is focusing on revenue producing tasks. We want to maximize your efficiency and productivity. And then lastly, we have the expense management program. This is going to control your costs. This is obviously going to focus on your expenses, keeping track of them in real time. So altogether, if you had these programs, that would be the business support system. This is going to simplify your payroll, human resources, benefits, recruiting, finance, productivity, taxes and accounting, so much more, all in one place. And like Jeff mentioned, we have teams to do this for you. So we know how to handle it. We do this all the time. It's not only going to be saving you time, but making sure that it's done correctly as well. You won't have to train anyone to do this. We are well equipped. And if you would like to learn more about any of these programs, I highly encourage you to please make an appointment with me. If you want to get the Optimized CSA analysis and negotiation consultation, or the budget analysis that we've been doing, and just more information on the BSS overall, please, I highly encourage you to book an appointment with me. And you can do this by emailing me, or if you go directly to that website right there, my calendar will pop up and you can book an appointment on the days and times that work for you. But I'm happy to work with you. You can just email me if any of those times on the calendars don't work with you. I'm pretty flexible. And then there is going to be some information that we would need. For example, we do need 3 weeks worth of your gross payroll data, and then some information from your MicronBiz account that I can send you examples of. Once you book that you'll get an email from me showing you exactly what's needed, and then we can go from there. But if you have any questions even about that, please feel free to email me.
Just want to reiterate, this Network 2.0 negotiations are very, very complicated. FedEx said we're going to simplify the contracts in the past by offering you MISOs. And as we found out, just choosing a MISO really wasn't the way to go. Because sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Which MISO it is varies from year to year. I know Carrie's given advice. One year it's MISO 1, the next year it's MISO 3. And we had the system to give you the best advice on that, and many of you have taken advantage of that. They call Carrie the negotiations lady for a good reason. So we always think it's worth going to a negotiation, but how do you go to a negotiation without the data? So I would definitely encourage you to take advantage of the service. That new report that Jeff showed is so new that that's the first time I've seen it. So, and it is extremely detailed and gives you a look at your business and basically what FedEx is expecting from your business, because they are expecting efficient businesses that will deliver superior service. And those are the people that they've come to say, how would you like your business to expand in the future? So I still don't see any questions. We got a quiet group today, Jeff.
Tired, busy.
Yep. Package coma. It happened. It's real. So we will plan on being back here again next Tuesday. If anybody has any questions about these services, please reach out to myself or Becca. Said it's extremely valuable. Oh, we got a question. So is that why they are calling contractors? Yes, they are calling contractors to see if you are a good contractor. They're calling you to see what your expansion plans are. They might even get you a little bit early if a contractor fails during peak to ask you to do some contingency work. So, and contingency work can be very profitable, and it could lead to free CSAs. And most of the time, free is good, but once again, when they offer you a free contract, make sure you have somebody analyze it by the name of Carrie Manders, because she can tell you whether it's a viable contract or not. But yes, they want to know who can expand, but to get that phone call, you have to be efficient and providing superior service to the customer. All righty. that appears to be it. Once again, we will be back here, rising above the packages again next Tuesday. We hope the people that joined us today will be back because that will mean week 2 of a successful peak. And we look forward to seeing everybody. If we don't talk to you before then, please have a safe and profitable week. Thank you very much.